All right, so now we've gone over time management. Let's talk about procrastination and the reasons why people tend to procrastinate. I have a colleague who says, you weren't born with a procrastination gene. So it's definitely something that is a learned behavior. And when something is a learned behavior, it's something that you can unlearn. So you just have to learn strategies that work for you and not do things that don't work for you. If having a planner is not something that works for you, then don't force yourself to do that. Use the tool that works best for you so that you can stay on top of the work that you have to complete. So the first reason that people procrastinate is a lack of interest. They're not interested in the work. It's not fun for them. So why should they do it? They put it off because it's of no interest. A lot of people will use the lazy excuse. I'm just too lazy. I don't want to do it. I'll do it later when I have more energy to complete the task. And so it's important that you realize when this is an issue for yourself so that you can put it up front and not continue to put it off because you're not interested in it. So when you are recognizing that you are procrastinating on something because of a lack of interest, you want to try to schedule to get that task done at the best time of your day. So really trying to figure out what time of the day am I at my best? When am I most alert? When can I work the fastest to get things done? So for some people, that's early on in the day. They like to get up, get the work done, not dread it all day or all week or whatever it might be, and they can just have it checked off. A lot of students start the semester off with this mindset that they're going to complete tasks early on, that they're not going to procrastinate. I've even read some of your discussion questions where you've said that yourself, and that's great, but you have to continue to do that and not just do it at the beginning of a semester. I once had a student who told me, once I leave campus, I do not do anything for school. I'm out of school. I'm not going to worry about school. I'm not going to do any work. So maybe what works for you, if you're similar to that student, is that you set time in your day to stay at the JC before you leave. Build it into your schedule that you can go work in a computer lab or in the library so that you're still in school mode to get it done. I know one student in our class mentioned that she has built into her schedule to come early. So she comes a couple hours early so that she can go to the library and work on things. I've had other students that say late in the day is best for them. So when everybody in their house is asleep and it's quiet, and they can work a lot faster because there's not as many distractions for that person. One thing that you can do is definitely reward yourself after you've completed it. It's something that you didn't want to do, but you got it done. So set something fun to do after you've completed whatever it is that was hard for you to get started in the first place. As far as classes go, it's important that you choose classes that are of interest to you. And so when you look at the schedule of classes, on the top right-hand side, you can look at the course outline. Click on that radio button for class outline, and you're going to get more information on what type of information is included in the class, and not just that short description of what is in the schedule of classes. A lot of students will procrastinate on work because it's hard. They put it off because it's going to take a long time, or they don't know how to get started, or they just say, I don't have the time right now. This is, too complicated and it's going to take a lot of time, and I don't have time to get going on it. And so, this is a common one as well is, I have a 15-page paper due, but I don't even know where to go to get started. So learning to break your work into smaller tasks so that you can complete things over time. In the resources section of this week's Canvas page, I have a sheet called long-term projects, and you can look at that and break it up by day. When am I going to get this done? Okay, so that 15-page paper becomes a more doable task. You choose your topic, you go to the library and speak to the librarians about how to get resources and find supporting documentation to help you in the paper. Not just relying on Google, but using scholarly journals and scholarly resources. So learning to break up that complex project into smaller tasks is something that can help you. Perfectionism. This is a big one. Again, a learned behavior. So Les Brown is a motivational speaker, and one of his quotes is that there is no such thing as perfect. There's always room for improvement. So try to get that perfectionism out of your head, that it doesn't exist, that, your instructors may always find something for you to improve upon. And that's why you're in school, is to learn and to do better. So it's really hard when you have that perfectionism as a block and that you have to meet a certain standard. Of course, you want to do your best work and put your best foot forward, but at the same time, that can really hinder you and stop you from moving forward because, again, you say, I don't have the time to start right now. Because you don't have all the time to make it perfect. And so really learning to work on the project slowly, take the time to talk with your instructor. A lot of instructors will give you a review of what they think you've done and if you're moving in the right direction. Visit the writing center to get support. So use all those resources as well to help you in turning in your best work. Another reason why people procrastinate is hostility toward the instructor or the person who assigned you the task to be completed. So you don't like the person, so therefore you don't want to do it. And so this one is a little bit more difficult. It's something that, you just have to really find a way to deal with that, and you have to find other ways to motivate yourself, to continue to get a high GPA, to not let that person who maybe you have a personality difference with to stand in your way. I hear from a lot of students, that instructor just didn't like me. So it's important that you go and you just kind of suck it up and you go to office hours, you clarify expectations, you make sure that you understand what it is that they want you to do and that you get it done. So the inner defender is our own self-critic that tends to blame other people. And so instead of taking responsibility, the inner defender would blame the instructor and say, well, it's their fault. They didn't give me a high score because they don't like me. Well, when you go in and you have the conversation prior about what the expectations are, then it gives you a reason to go back and say, we spoke about this before I even turned in the assignment, and I'm just a little confused as to, why I didn't get a higher grade. It's always fine to go in and speak respectfully to your instructors. Fear of failure. So another reason why people will procrastinate is because they are afraid that they're going to fail. And so it's important that, again, you learn how to deal with this. I really like the definition of fear being false expectations appearing real. And so again, we put this pressure on ourselves that we have to live up to a certain grade or something like that, and then we don't do something because we're just off from the bat thinking, I'm not going to succeed in this. And you learn from also quote unquote failing. And my daughter's 8, and with her homework, I'm always telling her, you're learning through mistakes. You're learning not to make that mistake again. And it's the same thing with work. You're going to learn from your instructor's feedback or from, maybe getting a C on an exam. How can you do better? So one way to deal with the fear of failure is developing a clear mental picture of what the task is and how you're feeling at that time. And so really, putting things in writing. I always say, get things out of your head. Don't let it fester up in there, because that's when we tend to, process it over and over and over again. Try to focus on the end result and not just the process. And so again, looking at what am I going to learn from this? How can I do better? And so forth. Okay. And then stay positive. Don't let that negative chatterbox run wild. And a lot of times that will. And so really trying to push that down and focus on the positive and what it is that you're capable of doing. Indecision. So you can't make up your mind, and so you delay. So again, going back to that sheet where you can break tasks up into little tasks, determine a timeline for making a decision, and then you need to stick with it. So I'm going to decide on the topic of my paper by the end of the week. Sharing your deadlines with somebody else can help to keep you on track. So it's very hard for ourselves to keep our own self accountable. So when you share with somebody else, they can help follow up with you to see, hey, did you decide on that paper? What is it that you're going to be writing your research paper on? Use the SMART method to keep your goal. So make sure that it's specific and it's measurable, and that it can be timed, that it's also reasonable for you to achieve. Having a lack of focus. So distractions is a huge reason why people procrastinate. You have a paper to do, but your best friend needs to, go shopping, and so you go along with them, or you're invited to go watch the game over at somebody's house. And so just that lack of focus can really get in the way of getting things done. So again, breaking things down so they're manageable chunks that you can get the task taken care of. Block off your time for the project. So look at your week and decide ahead of time when you'll be working on things. Making sure that you're taking control. Don't allow yourself to do things that aren't necessary. Don't start cleaning out your closet when really you should be studying for that exam. If you do decide to go and do something different, set a timer so that you get back to work. There's show marathons on television, and you get sucked into it, and you watch one after the other, and all of a sudden, you've been sitting there for 4 hours. So set a timer so that you can get back to work. That's something that you might find, it's kind of silly, but it'll get you going again. Environment strategies. So really having a place and time to work, utilizing that time management system so that you have blocks of time that work for you, and that this is when I'm in the library, or I'm at a coffee shop, or I'm in my room and I am studying and I'm doing my reading and I'm working on papers, or whatever it is that you have, working on math. So in that study spot, make sure that you don't have distractions. Don't study on your bed. Don't study with the TV on, or have, your phone right there where you're texting, or, using social media. So turn those things off. Find that spot where you can really focus and get things done. Letting your family or roommates know, that you're not to be disturbed as you study. I know that's a little bit more difficult with small children. I also have small children. So, I finally sit down to work and I'm being called for to go get water or whatever it might be. So, but just doing the best that you can, trying to, if you do have little children, have them set up doing, some type of work as well, letting them feel important and as part of the process might be something that's helpful. So we all deal with procrastination, and finding ways to really recognize that you're procrastinating, and strategies that will help you in dealing with that procrastination is going to be huge. A lot of you have said that time management and procrastination are areas that you need to work on, and so I'd really like to see you coming up with a plan on how you can deal with whatever procrastination issue is it has a handle on you, and how you can work through that.